Can you talk about your experience as a mother and how you learned about reactive attachment disorder?
Sure. Now, can I do it without crying? That's another story. I adopted 3 children, and then number 4 was surprise, and so I had 4 kids in 4 years and 1 month, and they came as infants. My daughter, there was 1 girl, my daughter, and then 3 sons, and they all were infants. My daughter was like 2.5 months. My first son was 2 months, and the next son was 4 months, and that was in the 70s. And by then I was a nurse, and I knew about child growth and development and those kinds of things, and I had, taken care of my sisters and babysat a lot of kids and worked pediatrics and all those. And when my daughter came home, she was very unusual. I mean, just very unusual. She would have nightmares when she was about 6 weeks after she came home. She'd have screaming nightmares at night.
And she was still a baby.
She was an infant. And, I really truly believed at that time that adopted kids were just like blank slates, and that it was my job as their mother to fill the slate. And that, they would believe everything that they were taught, and that their history meant nothing. I never heard that. And so when this infant was, up to 6 months, and when she was having screaming nightmares, I was really confounded by that. I always held my babies with their bottles, and she would, when I would go to snuggle her, she would bite me. She'd bite my jaw or my neck or my collarbone, and I was surprised because she had 4 teeth and she used them. And all those, I didn't have any idea what that was. And the only thing that the agency said is, these kids have a strike against them, so they come with something extra. I had no idea what that something extra was going to be. Mm-hmm. And then the next child came home, my son, and he was physically ill, so I had to take a lot of good care of him. And he was quite normal. He was sick, but he was normal. And then about 20 months later, I brought my third child home, who was 4 months old. And the first time I went to change his diaper, he tried to throw himself off of the changing table on his head, and he was screaming like I was hurting him. I threw myself across him so that he wouldn't fall, and he just screamed bloody murder. And it was strange because, it looked like he didn't want to be touched. And the 2 that were the most unusual, which was number 1 and number 3, their behaviors continued to be unusual. They'd hurt their siblings. My daughter pushed our dachshund down the stairs and broke its back, and she was 3, and when she was about 2, I was married at the time, I said to my husband, I really want help with her. There's something wrong here. And I was certain it was me, because of my mindset. And he assured me that there was nothing wrong with her, that I was a witch, and, And so I believed him. That's the only thing anybody I had to pay attention to, I guess. And so they continued to get really, really difficult. By the time they were 5 and 6, my husband left when they were 2, 3, 5, and 6, and by then the 2 children were homicidal. They had already killed some of the family pets, and they had plans for me. And my son was a fire setter, and he was setting fires around the house. And my daughter was a knife wielder. She had plans to stab me. And she'd walk around the house at night with a knife and slit furniture, slits in my furniture, and there was stab wounds in the woodwork on the way up to my bedroom. And it was real scary. It was real scary because nobody believed me, number 1, and nobody saw it but me. Mm-hmm. At me and the other kids, were the first line of defense. Yeah. And I did go to a therapist, and she, of course, didn't know what it was, and of course, just like any other kid, they look wonderful in the therapy section, mm-hmm. Dimples and eyelashes, and And, they just told me that I was just a nervous mother, and if I settled down, my children would be fine.
So then you came to Colorado with a different organization, not ours, but you.
Correct, not yours.
And what did you feel like they weren't getting?
Well, I didn't know. I mean, all I knew is that these children had reactive attachment disorder, and that we were told it was enormously rare. And I had 2 children with raging reactive attachment disorder, and so I brought them here with having a lot of faith that they were going to fix them. And they were both out here for about 18 months. And the reality is that they didn't fix them and couldn't fix them because they didn't have it's a brain disorder, and we know that now, but we didn't know that then. And so, I didn't have any expectations about what they were going to do, except that I wanted my kids to be better, and I wanted them home. Mm-hmm. And but that didn't happen. And
as a result of your film and your book, I suppose you talk to parents worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell them? When they ask you, I'm sure, is there hope? What do you say?
I tell them yes. The place that I'm really encouraged is I can talk to a bunch of parents now, and they know about it. Mm-hmm. They might not have all the information they need. They might not certainly don't have all the support they need. They probably don't have all the therapists that they need, but they know that it exists and that they're not crazy.
That we talk a lot about the genetic mental illnesses that kids have, because a lot of parents that abuse their children do so because they have mental illnesses, and then they pass that along to their child. So then the child ends up with a mental illness plus attachment disorder.
Correct.
And so you can't diagnose all of those things as a mom who has PTSD from going through it and living through it. It's too much to take on all on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
That's why it's so important that people are speaking out and talking to one another.
And encouraging institutions like yours to do the work that they're doing, to support it, and that could mean a variety of things. It could mean a few dollars here and there. It could mean, passing the word on to Aunt Jenny, who may have a child. I know this institution, the Institute of Attachment and Child Development in Littleton, that can help you with that. Mm-hmm. Because it's so important. There are not that many institutions like this one, or institutes like this one that will help. And so, we need to get the word out to everybody. And that's really important because we don't have enough of those. Mm-hmm. And it's a really good thing when organizations like yours, for example, train parents and train therapists and set up new programs. That's sensational. I would have given my eye teeth and my right arm to have had that.
I wish that you had that too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And we have another show tonight, so we'll have more people coming out to talk and support one another, and we're glad that you're here with us.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.